On the night of Friday the 11th of December 2020, the police were called to attend Canning Road in Croydon after reports that a woman had been stabbed. Upon their arrival, they found a 30-year-old female suffering from multiple stab wounds, and despite the best efforts from the emergency services, she was sadly pronounced dead at the scene. A man who was at the property at the time was taken to hospital for treatment after suffering stab injuries and was arrested on suspicion of murder. He was discharged from hospital nearly 2 months after the incident on the 9th of February 2021 and was charged with murder the following day. A post-mortem examination held at Croydon mortuary the following day gave the cause of death as multiple stab wounds. The woman was identified as 30-year-old Andrea Patricia Rodrigues Guilherme, a Portuguese national originally from Madeira who was living in Croydon. Andrea worked as a medium and a tarot card reader under the name Chama Violeta and lived in her apartment with her partner David Xavier, who is also originally from Madeira. Despite both originally being from Madeira, the pair only met and formed a relationship whilst living in the UK. David acted in a possessive manner and controlled Andrea, not liking it when she would use her phone, and he tried to isolate her and prevent her from seeing her family. David sexually abused her in their apartment, and he would blackmail her into having sex with him. On Tuesday the 1st of August 2023, David Xavier stood trial at the Old Bailey charged with the murder of his girlfriend, Andrea Patricia Rodrigues Guilherme. David denied the charges, saying that he acted in self-defense, claiming that Andrea started attacking him with a knife. By July 2020, the pair's relationship was deteriorating ever since Andrea had become a mother, and in December that year, she was taking steps to end their relationship, along with their cohabitation. It seemed that Andrea no longer wanted sexual relations with David in the months before her death, and had developed an interest in the possibility of relationships with other men. In response to this, David became increasingly jealous and angry over Andrea's rejection of him, and was even trying to stop Andrea from seeing her family. It seemed that David had then also blackmailed Andrea into having sexual intercourse with him, which had only driven Andrea further away from him. She had sent a friend photographs of bruises to her chest that she said David had caused when he was drunk and jealous. She had told her friends that the relationship was over and that she was looking for a house to move out to. On the night of Friday the 11th of December, Andrea sent a series of messages and recordings to friends and family, as an argument with David, who had been drinking, escalated. The recordings, which were later recovered from Andrea's mobile phone, showed a heated argument between the pair, with David and Andrea trading insults. She circulated these recordings of heated exchanges between the pair on Facebook Messenger, in which David accused her in Portuguese of being a woman of several men. She sent a text to her friend saying that David was abnormal. She got home and all he did was drink, and said that he was mixing wine with firewater and liquor. Later that same evening at 11:32 PM, she sent a text to her cousin saying that David had picked up a knife, and 5 minutes later sent a text to David's sister and stated that David was crazy and that he pointed a knife at her. Her last communication was at 11:44 PM, and was a recording of events which appeared to have happened immediately before the murder. In the audio clip, Andrea was heard crying and asking David to leave the flat, calling him disgusting and crazy after he came after her with a knife. She is heard to say in Portuguese, words which translate as, "You are abnormal, you are crazy, you are disgusting, I hate you, you are crazy." The audio clip was the last communication Andrea had made, and shortly after, David stabbed Andrea more than 50 times with a kitchen knife, which was later recovered from the premises. The prosecution claimed that this was a frenzied attack, and that Andrea had sustained over 50 stab wounds to the front and back of her body, some inflicted with sufficient force so as to damage her internal organs and leave knife marks on the bone and cartilage of her ribs. Other injuries included cuts to her hands, where she had tried to defend herself from his frenzied and sustained attack. 2 minutes and 19 seconds after Andrea's last communication, David called his sister Lena, who also lived in Croydon, and told her that Andrea was dead. She rushed to the address along with her husband Fabio, and found David holding a kitchen knife covered in blood, with Andrea lying lifeless on the bedroom floor in a pool of blood. David confessed to him saying, "I think I've killed her," and claimed that she had stabbed him first, so he had stabbed her back and stated that she had betrayed him as she was seeing someone else. He said that an argument broke out in the living room after he said that she had met with someone else and that she also accused him of seeing someone else. She then broke a glass on the table and then grabbed a knife and stabbed him. He managed to take the knife from her and then stabbed her with the same knife. An ambulance was called immediately, but despite the best efforts from the emergency services to save Andrea's life, she was sadly pronounced dead at the scene. The prosecution stated that there was no lawful reason that could justify such a killing, and although David may have had some drinks, he was not in such a state of intoxication that he was unable to form the intention to kill or to cause serious bodily harm. On Tuesday the 1st of August 2023, after just 2 hours and 6 minutes of deliberation, the jury unanimously found David Xavier guilty of murdering his girlfriend Andrea Patricia Rodriguez Guilherme. They believed that he brutally stabbed her in a jealous rage over 50 times on the Friday night after she had tried to end their relationship. After the verdicts, Judge Anthony Leonard told him, "You met Andrea in April 2019. 2 to 2.5 years later, your relationship turned sour. You made sexual demands of her, not only when she found sex too uncomfortable, but also when she had fallen out of love with you. You only allowed her, for example, to go shopping if she first had sex with you. She described this as rape. You became aware that she was speaking to 2 other men. This added to your feeling of jealousy that led to you killing her. Whilst there is almost always fault on both sides when a relationship fails, the fault was to a large part of your own. In your diary, you wrote, 'I do not forgive cheating or deceitfulness from anyone,' which largely shows you were seeking to punish her." Joanna Guilherme, Andrea's sister, wrote in a statement how she needed medical treatment to cope with the loss of her sibling and suffering from panic attacks. She said in a written statement, "It is still an open wound to me and I would like justice to be made. I hope that coming here has not been for nothing." Detective Chief Inspector Matt Webb, who led the investigation, said, "This was a horrific, frenzied attack against a woman who didn't stand a chance. Xavier was armed with a knife and clearly enraged. Andrea's family has lived through the horror of receiving those final messages on the night of her death, and due to Xavier's pleading not guilty, they were forced to relive that night again at the trial. It is right that Xavier will spend a large part of his life behind bars, and while nothing can bring Andrea back, I sincerely hope that the sentence handed down brings her loved ones a measure of comfort." On Friday the 4th of August 2023, David Xavier was sentenced to life imprisonment, to serve a minimum of 18 years before being eligible to apply for parole. And that brings to a close the horrific case of Andrea Patricia Rodriguez Guilherme, who was tragically taken away from her loving family and friends at just 30 years old. Lawless Underground would wish to extend its sincere condolences to the loved ones of Andrea. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then please consider liking the video and subscribing to Lawless Underground for more crime-related content. If you have any suggestions or requests for future videos, then please let me know in the comments below. Until next time, stay curious, and goodbye for now from Lawless Underground.